You're listening to the Plain Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 194 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. My name's Neville Bounds, and welcome everybody. And Matt Smith is with me today in the barn studio.
We are, yes, we're in the barn again today.
It looks very cosy. It is there as well.
It
actually.
is, yeah,
very
no,
nice.
it's very coasty. As you can see, I've put my Christmas tree up.
Yeah, great. Oh, superb. Nicely done, sir.
I believe
but
it's
we do have
starting
someone missing in action today, don't we? What's happened to Mr. Stebbings?
Mr. Stebbings is skiving, basically. He's where he does his various DJing and things. He's actually being a DJ. That's essentially what he's doing.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Nice.
he's literally just up the road. In fact, actually, I could probably throw a stone between where I am currently and where he is. But yes, he's busy setting up for a disco this evening. His penultimate one at the Swan. So
right. That's in Bungay, is it?
That's right. Yeah. So as I say, it's literally up the road from where we are now.
Right. Nice.
So yeah.
Very good. Well, we've got a very full chat room tonight, I've noticed as well. And so thanks everybody indeed for joining us. We'll be joined by a special guest later on.
Very
He's just
shortly.
getting in a taxi, hopefully.
Yes. Yes.
So as long as Uber works for him or whoever he's using tonight, then it should be okay. So we'll see him a bit later on, which will be great. So what have you been up to this week, Matt? What have you been doing?
Well, same as usual, really. Just been working mainly. Trying to think if I've done anything interesting this week. No, not really. You have, however, been doing something quite interesting,
yes,
haven't you?
Yes, I did.
Yes. It was just supposed to be a recce, wasn't it? But tell the listeners what you did. Yeah.
Well, I was doing a quick recce yesterday down at the simulator in Putney in southwest London for our 200th show, more of which later on.
Yep.
And they said, whilst you're here, Nev, could you just give us a hand with this or with that? So I did, and I ended up in the right-hand seat of this simulator for slightly longer than I should have been, shall we say.
That was that was very good of you. Obviously, you were helping them out, Nev. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
It's rude
and if my boss is listening, it was all to do with audiovisual, nothing to do with flying or aircraft.
No, nothing whatsoever. No, very obedient.
But so that was great. But in fact, so we've got it all sorted out for the 200, and I'll talk about a bit later on.
Absolutely.
So that will be great.
Yeah. So as we're into a new month, unfortunately, that means we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do, sir.
We have indeed, and as usual, it's time to thank the Patreons. Big thanks to Adrian Meacham. Matt Caton, who's brewing some nice 200th episode IPA.
Yes, we're very excited by that. Yeah.
More of which shortly. And Captain Jeff, Dr. Steph, Stuart Black, and Liz Piper has made a very generous donation towards the 200th episode. So thanks ever so much indeed, Liz. We really appreciate that. From Evan Shue, Adam Spink, Matt Donnemeyer, Jeff Ward, Ben Todd, York Moeller, Philip Labe, Andrew Wilson, and we have a new Patreon with Eric Graves. So thanks ever so much indeed, Eric. Really appreciate your contribution. Jordan Rose, Steve Andress, Jeff Newman, Matt Bunting Frame, Myla, Ryan Harper, Stuart Backer, and Ray Williams. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. It makes a huge difference to us to have your contributions. It really helps with the running costs of the show.
It does.
So if you would like to have a look at how to do that, how to support us, go to the website www.plaintalkinguk.com, and there'll be a link to the Patreon part of the show.
There will indeed, yes, absolutely. As I say, there are other ways to do that as well. You can also go to, if you go to our website, you can use the link on our website. If you shop with Amazon, if you use the link that's on our website, then you can basically help the show by just doing your normal shopping. Amazon pay us what they call a small referral fee, and basically you sort of, as I say, without spending any additional money, you're helping us by contributing. And it's actually been really handy for getting like new cables and leads. We quite often use the vouchers for that, and of course you can do it through PayPal if you wish to as well, to make a donation towards the show, which is I believe what Liz did.
Yeah, it's great. Absolutely superb. So thanks ever so much indeed. There's been some comments in the chat room about my jumper tonight.
Right, yes.
And it is a Christmas special audio jumper.
Quite right,
we couldn't
absolutely.
see that at all. But yes, it's a bit itchy though. So
Right, okay.
if I start scratching
Right,
during the
okay.
show, then
We
you'll
should put a
know
T-shirt
why.
on underneath. Yeah.
I think so. Or get Mrs. Nev to wash it, possibly.
Right,
So,
okay. Oh,
but,
dear. Unwashed.
yeah.
Oh, dear.
So yeah, so that's that. So, but
Indeed.
yeah, we've got plenty of news to talk about this week. Lots of stuff going on, and so if you are ready, Matt,
I am indeed, yes, yeah.
off we go. Well, starting off from the independent.co.uk website, and this is all about a fine chap called Dave Walsworth. And for those of you in the chat room, and maybe some people listening as well, they might know Dave as an A380 captain for British Airways. And he's also one of these sort of really good PR kind of guys as well. And I think that's very much part of the job of being an airline pilot as well. He's sort of representing your airline in the best way you can. And he's done some really interesting stuff here. And it says, ever been itching to know what the view from the flight deck is like when you're coming into land? Well, Dave Walsworth feels your pain. The British Airways pilot got a first taste of flying as a child when nervous flyers and children would often be invited onto the flight deck, a practice that was stamped out after 9/11. I'll always remember being in awe of what was going on, he tells The Independent, and the views. I especially remember being invited to stay up for landing, and I wanted to be able to give people the opportunity to see what we do and how we do it, as well as experience the superb views we are privileged to have. And in a bid to share what he sees, he's now made a series of films of takeoffs and landings at major airports and is posting them on Twitter and YouTube in a bid to demystify the process of flying. The first one, which is a 13-minute film of a landing in Johannesburg, went up this week, and I had a look at that earlier on, actually. It's absolutely beautifully done. And Dave, who's an A380 captain, had to get approval from BA to film inside the plane, but he says that the airline has been very supportive and mindful that all recording is carried out in a safe manner. 2 GoPro cameras were set up, pointing both outside and inside the flight deck to capture the pilots as well as the outside. The video records all the flight deck activity, from their interaction with the air traffic controllers to the moment each of the 3 pilots, Senior First Officers Jeremy Goodson and Phil Gillespie, who are also in the film, they opted on their sunglasses. And Dave has annotated the video explaining technical terms and narrating each part of the flight. For nervous flyers, it's a boon. Seeing the pilots calm even in the final moments of landing is an image that's likely to help more than any fear of flying course. Well, I think it's all part of it, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And running the video now as you're talking, Nev, here, I mean, it is, if nothing else, it is a stunning view. There's no two ways about it.
He's done a great job there, and I think it's taken him quite a long time to get all the powers at BA to agree to it and all the rest of it. And it really is a very nice piece of video. And he's done a good job for it, and I think there's going to be some more to come, which will be great. So people follow Dave on Twitter. He's always got a lot to say about the airline, which is really nice.
If you want to watch the video in full, it's actually on his YouTube channel. So if you search Dave Walsworth, which is Dave WALSWORTH, search for Dave Walsworth on YouTube, and you can actually watch the video. As I say, this is the one that we're watching at the moment. Here is an approach into Johannesburg, and it really is it's just such a stunning view, isn't it? You never get that view, do you? I mean, even when you were allowed in the cockpit, of course, you were never allowed to be there when they were doing such things as this. It was only during flight, wasn't it, that you were allowed to
although when I was younger, I did have a bit of a fear of flying, early on in my teens, and I did have a couple of jump seat landings with British Midland.
Really?
Those of you who can remember that airline going way back. And that was really nice, actually, and it did help a lot. There's no question about it. So I think Dave's doing a great job here to really try and
Absolutely.
Promote the whole thing. And BA could do with a bit of good news for a change, couldn't they? Because there's always stuff going wrong. There's cabin crew strikes, or there's charging for food on the short haul flights. So it's actually a nice change for a good news story.
Positive news story, yeah.
So that's brilliant.
It is.
But very nice video, isn't it?
It is, yeah, very much. I'm very much recommended. You need to give it a look if you're interested in that sort of thing. It really is quite stunning. So we'll move on to the next story then, if we may. Story number 2, which it always seems to be, is a Ryanair story. You can tell Carlos he's still here in spirit, isn't he, when he's chosen all the stories. This is on the travelmole.com website, and the headline is Ryanair ignores pilot strike threats. Okay. Ryanair has dismissed the threat of strike action later this month by pilots in Portugal and Italy, and has warned pilots in Ireland not to follow suit. Pilots in Italy are threatening to stage a 4-hour walkout December the 15th, and pilots in Portugal have also served formal notice of industrial action. They want Ryanair to engage in collective bargaining across all of its European bases through a newly formed European Employee Representative Committee. So this is mentioning the word union, of course, which I don't suppose they won't like that. But Ryanair wants to continue negotiating salaries and working conditions individually with each of its bases and refuses to recognise unions. Responding to the decision in Portugal, the Irish Airline Pilots Association said its members were currently examining their options. The pilot issues, which have given rise to flight cancellations with Ryanair earlier this year, have not adequately been addressed, said Captain Eoin Cullen, who is the president of the IALPA. While we support a pilot's entitlement for fair representation, we cannot prejudice this dispute or endanger its process by speculation. As this is a developing Ryanair pilot trade dispute in another jurisdiction, IALPA are not currently in a position to make further comment. IALPA also published a video this week telling Ryanair chief Michael O'Leary to grow up and show pilots some respect. I'm sure that went down like a lead balloon. No more whipsawing. What whipsawing? This sounds like more your area of expertise, Nev. What's whipsawing?
That sounds a very odd expression.
It does. Anyway, no more whipsawing. One pilot voice, one negotiating team now. We stand as one. We, the pilots of Ryanair, are not short-term, expendable commodities. We are vital company assets. Treat us accordingly, the video said. Ryanair said it was ignoring the strike threats. We regularly receive threats of industrial action from competitor airline pilot unions from Italy, Portugal, and even Aer Lingus pilots occasionally. Both we and our pilots ignore these letters, it said in a statement. This is the 6th time the FIT/CISL or the AMPA, so they do like an acronym, don't they? Has announced strikes by Ryanair pilots only to postpone, cancel or cancel them later on. We expect this latest threatened strike will also be postponed/cancelled, since both unions and the Alitalia unions have no role with Ryanair. So yes, it's
always very difficult. Is that they're always in dispute with management, and management are always having a go at the cabin crew or the pilots, and vice versa. It's an ongoing story, and we're never short of content. Every week they're in the news for something, aren't they?
There's always something else going on that means we get another Ryanair story. So as I say, at least on that plus note, it keeps them in the news, I suppose. Perhaps that's the way they're looking at it. Is no news is good news. Or,
exactly. And also, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Is that right? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
absolutely. But there we go. So another story from The Independent here, and it says that the 10-year-old British Airways subsidiary, the boutique airline Open Skies, is to shut down in 2018.
Oh no!
From September 2018, Open Skies, which currently flies between New York and Paris, will cease operating, with all staff transferred to the long-haul budget airline Level, also owned by BA's parent company IAG. IAG plans to give the gates and other assets currently used by Open Skies to Level, expanding the low-cost offshoots offering with Paris Orly Airport as its second base. It already operates flights from Barcelona. We're delighted, in fact, to launch flights from our second European city, which with 4 exciting new routes, IAG Chief Executive Willie Walsh said in a statement, adding that Level will benefit from the local experience and knowledge of the Open Skies team. Level will have 2 Airbus A330-200 aircraft based at Orly, flying to New York, Montreal, Guadeloupe and Martinique from July 2018, and fares will start at €99, which is £88 one way, which is pretty good, isn't it, if you think about it? Open Skies launched in 2008 as a boutique concept with aircraft featuring business class and premium economy, plus a small economy section with reclining leather seats. It opened a dedicated lounge in Paris Orly and started expanding, adding Washington DC and Amsterdam routes and buying out a similar French boutique airline. The idea was to give more of an upmarket private jet experience with only 100 passengers or so per flight, and iPads available for all passengers' use. Prices were designed to be competitive too, with economy fares from $455 return, including meals and full bar service. Business class fares cost from $2,529 return. However, being such a small operation, currently Open Skies only has 3 Boeing 757s plus 1 spare 767. The financial crash took its toll. The struggling airline had soon pared back to only flying between JFK and Newark airports in New York to Paris Orly, and its parent company has clearly decided that budget beats boutique, with Levels expansion the next big priority. Walsh has said he expects the airline fleet to reach 30 by 2022, meaning that further bases are likely to follow. But yes, running those 757s on the North Atlantic route, not a favourite thing for me to do. What about you,
or me, and of course, yeah. Well, we know my feelings on the 757, don't we?
Yes,
yes. Yeah. My little trips to Pittsburgh will forever haunt me as a result of said aircraft. What was it, a 757-300 or something silly?
It was, yes. That's right.
Yes. Do they have any of those?
They probably do, yes.
Right, okay.
Or 200 at least. Yeah.
Yes, so, they need to destroy them. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's always very sad when they sort of close an arm. But if it's not making money, it's there's no point in flogging a dead horse. And I think we're just, those who want to do luxury are doing business class nowadays, aren't they? I mean, it's just sort of,
yes.
If you can afford that sort of thing, you're not going to fly in cattle class, are you?
No, definitely.
Indeed.
Definitely, yeah.
On to the next story then. This is on the Independent, and my theme this week seems to be low-cost airlines. This is EasyJet this time, and EasyJet launches dozens of new flights in Germany, taking on Lufthansa in a wake of Air Berlin demise. So the airline already flies from Berlin's Schönefeld airport, but will next year start operating from the city's Tegel airport as well. So budget airline EasyJet has announced a slew of new domestic routes across Germany, taking on country rival Lufthansa in the wake of announcing that it plans to take over some of the assets from the defunct Air Berlin. The UK-based company on Wednesday said that it launched new routes connecting Berlin with German cities of Düsseldorf, Frankfurt, Munich and Stuttgart. It also unveiled new routes from Germany to 15 international destinations, including Vienna, Zurich, Mallorca and Catena. The airline already flies from Berlin's Schönefeld Airport, but under a new deal to snap up assets from bankrupt Air Berlin. That's always an unpleasant word, isn't it? Especially when it's involving airlines. It will start operating from the city's Tegel Airport in early 2018. EasyJet is proud to deliver more competition and lower fares to passengers in Germany, particularly on domestic routes where there is currently limited choice, said Thomas Hagensen, Managing Director for EasyJet in Europe. Seats for the new routes are on sale for flights between the 5th of January and the 24th of March. EasyJet plans to announce additional routes from Tegel for the summer season, starting at the end of March in due course. Separately on Wednesday, EasyJet said that it recorded an 8% increase in overall passenger numbers last month to 5.35 million. That drove the load factor, a common measure of capacity utilisation. God, they like their big words in here, don't they? Up by 2.6 percentage points to 92.3%. Actually, that's not a bad load factor, is it? 92.3.
No,
not many empty seats there, which for me is very depressing because I'm rather partial to an empty row.
Oh yes, me too.
Yeah, you feel like you're in business class when in fact you're not,
Yeah.
because you can stretch out. We were very lucky coming home, actually. I managed to have a whole aisle to myself when we came back from New York, and I did literally fall asleep. I had to be woken up by the crew for my meals.
Okay. Well, that's nice, isn't it? It makes such a difference, doesn't it? You've got that little bit of extra lateral room as well. You're not hemmed in, as it were. So, No,
Crazy
interesting.
stuff.
Very good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, on to the next story then, and this is from the derbytelegraph.co.uk, and this is about Rolls-Royce having a few problems with their Trent 1000 engines at the moment. And,
this is not good news.
No, an airline's been forced to cancel flights because of problems with Rolls-Royce engines on some of its aircraft. Air New Zealand said some Trent 1000 engines on its Boeing 787-9 Dreamliners required maintenance following 2 recent engine events. The airline had not disclosed details, but the New Zealand Transport Accident Investigation Commission said that it was investigating 2 events involving engine abnormalities on Air New Zealand aircraft this week. In a statement to the New Zealand Stock Exchange, the airline said that it would cancel and delay flights each day over the coming weeks to allow jets to undergo early maintenance. Rolls-Royce, which has its civil aerospace division based in Sinfin, said that it was working with Air New Zealand to minimise disruption and restore full flight operations as soon as possible. In a statement, the firm said, "We sincerely regret any disruption caused by our engine that our customer is experiencing. We're working together to minimise this impact and restore full flight operations as soon as possible. We have a clear service management plan in place with all operators to undertake this work and minimise disruption." The Trent 1000, which was designed and developed at Rolls-Royce's Derby site, first entered into commercial service in 2011 with All Nippon Airways. Last year, ANA reported a problem relating to the Trent 1000 turbine blades, and it said that under certain flying conditions, the blades became damaged by corrosion. Engines on all 50 of its Dreamliners were checked, and only a handful showed signs of turbine corrosion. Rolls-Royce replaced those parts and later came up with a new blade design. Last month, a more powerful and efficient version of the Trent 1000 called the Trent 1010 entered into service with 3 operators: Air New Zealand, Norwegian and Scoot. Now, of course, the nice thing about engines these days is the absolute reliability of them, isn't it? And we just take it all for granted. But of course, Rolls-Royce and other engine manufacturers do report all of their engine details back to base. So actually, what they can see going on there, they can get an idea of what's going on. So although there's some inconvenience here, I don't think it's a major safety issue, because they've actually found out what the problem is.
Sort of more or less straight away, haven't they? They haven't messed around.
But inevitably, there are going to be some flights delayed and things grounded. And we can think of Acme Red, I think, that's got some trouble there at the moment.
Similar issues,
and 1 or 2 others. So, they're on the case. So I think it'll be a fix which they'll roll out, and it'll be okay.
It'll be okay all in good time.
Yes.
So I'm delighted to say that we've finally been joined by our not quite so surprising special guest. Your taxi crisis has been sorted, sir?
Well, eventually.
Very good. So very good to have you on the show, sir. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much for having me again.
And we'll bash straight on, if we may, please, with story number 6.
Story number 6. Right, well, story number 6 is from the express.co.uk, and it's as Queen Elizabeth beats jet lag with this very odd technique. The Queen Elizabeth travels around the world on various state visits, and how she beats jet lag when abroad has been revealed. Queen Elizabeth, at 91, has travelled across the globe since taking the throne in 1952, becoming one of the most well-travelled royals in British history. Her travels have taken her some places more often than others, with Canada being the most visited destination, whilst others such as Israel and Greece are yet to be visited by Her Royal Highness. With a large amount of travel comes jet lag, something that plagues even experienced travellers. The Queen has a very unique way of beating jet lag when she lands after a long flight. The longest-serving monarch uses 2 things to try and escape the grasp of jet lag. According to the Independent, for jet lag, she takes homeopathic medicines and barley sugar. Surprisingly, sugar is something that many experts recommend to avoid when trying to stave off the symptoms. This is because it can cause a spike in blood sugar levels, which will crash later, causing fatigue. The Queen must also travel with one particular item for a rather morbid reason. A black outfit for mourning must always be taken abroad in case of a royal death. Members of the royal family must also abide by this rule, including Prince Harry and Prince William. Queen Elizabeth was once caught out by this upon the death of her father in 1952, where she landed in London without the outfit and was forced to wait on the plane until one was brought to her.
Wow.
So that's that for beating jet lag, homeopathic medicines, and barley sugar.
See, I didn't realise that. I didn't realise there was a thing about it's like sugars and stuff should be avoided if you're sort of, to avoid and beat jet lag. That's not something I was aware of, to be honest.
I think it just depends who you are, doesn't it? Really, different things work for different people.
Definitely.
I would imagine, so,
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of colleagues in other airlines tend to use is it melatonin?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah, melatonin as a way to help them sleep on the other
one
side.
of the things, because I may be a little controversial in what I'm about to say here, and don't get me wrong, I am a bit of a royalist, so I apologise in advance. But I very much doubt that the Queen will either ever be found, say, on an EasyJet flight, and also I dare say she's not flying economy.
Yes, so this helps quite enormously.
This presumably assists massively when it comes to trying to avoid jet lag if you can actually go to sleep. It's
Yes, no two ways about it. Absolutely, yeah. So, anyway, nice to know what the tips are.
Indeed. Well, this is true. This is true. So it's time for the next story. This is story number 7, and it's on the Sun newspaper this time around. And the headline is "Snack Attacked." BA chief says airline will not back down on charging short-haul passengers for food, even though they hate it. The boss of British Airways has dismissed calls for the airline to bring back free food and drink on short-haul flights, even though it's unpopular with travellers. Alex Cruz came under fire after ending free catering for economy passengers on short-haul flights in January. The chief executive admitted the introduction of charges for food and drink was very difficult, but insisted it was the right decision. In a speech to the Aviation Club of Central London, Mr. Cruz claimed BA remains a premium airline, but said customers expect low fares and we don't really make an apology for becoming more efficient to compete with rivals such as EasyJet and Ryanair. When charges for Marks and Spencer's products were implemented, some passengers complained they missed out due to slow service, whilst others were disappointed at having to pay when snacks were previously complimentary. Asked by former BA Concorde pilot John Hutchinson if he planned to change the complete disaster of a policy, Mr. Cruz responded, "It was absolutely the right decision." He accepted that it was very difficult at the beginning, but said that it was due to a logistics issue that took us a number of months to get worked out. Mr. Cruz, who joined BA in April last year, joined the audience low fares are popular, and for many he told the audience that low fares are popular, and for many customers they are what they expect. But they don't happen by magic. They happen because an airline has got itself in the right shape to be able to offer them. And I think actually this is something that we've covered before, isn't it? Where actually sometimes when these legacy carriers that are used to being sort of, well, I suppose for want of a better word, like luxury airliners, when they try and switch to the short haul model, and I do include Monarch in that, where they went from being very much like BA, weren't they, where you've still got like exemplary service, most.
And I mean, how many Nev's passenger experiences have we listened to with people that I've been interviewing saying exactly the same thing? They just hate the whole concept of this, and to think that BA are even competing with Ryanair and EasyJet on some of these routes is madness. That they should be, if they want to be, the premium airline with the premium cost and the service that goes with it. And I think trying to downscale some of their operations into low cost models is it's just not working at all.
Do you think it's because they're sort of? I mean, is it because they're not making money as a a legacy sort of quality?
As we all know, I mean, BA tend to only make money on the long haul business class and first class routes. I mean, the economy fares are what they are, and that's not. I mean, that's enough to break even possibly, but actually the real money is made at the sharp end of the aircraft. But nonetheless, I think that this whole thing is just putting people off, isn't it?
So do you think, well, why would you then try, if it's like, why are you trying to compete with the likes of Ryanair and EasyJet when you're not that sort of carrier? I mean,
I think it's just an overreaction by BA, because obviously they're seeing the load factors that EasyJet and Ryanair are getting on the short haul European operations, or Edinburgh, Inverness, Glasgow kind of routes, Dublin maybe as well. But yeah, they really they've got some learning to do here, and I've seen various interviews that Alex Cruz has given about this, and it's going to be in the detail. I mean, either they get their act together here, or they're just going to have to change course completely.
Stick to what they're good at, essentially.
Well, they're going to have to really listen to their customers over this one, because if they lower themselves to a level where they are competing with low cost carriers, then I think the market for them is going to drop off fairly dramatically, because there are so many established low cost carriers out there who already have the market share for this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
If they're not going to offer or be the premium airline in UK and Europe, well, I don't see there's going to be too much of a need for them in the market.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing, isn't it? Why don't they just stick to what they're good at, which is the long haul routes, and just concentrate on I mean, from my point of view, I mean, I'd love to fly British Airways all the time, but it's simply a cost factor as far as I'm concerned, and it's, but even on a short haul route, I am unable to afford a British Airways flight. It is EasyJet or Ryanair that are the ones that I'm looking for if I'm just wanting to sort of go to Europe somewhere. But having said that, I mean, we nearly ended up, and very much wished we had been, with BA going out to the States, because there really wasn't. I mean, there was probably, I say only, but there was probably about 150 quid between the two, going with BA over United. When we went out to New York, there really wasn't much in it, and actually I'd have probably gone, if it had been me, I'd have gone BA over United every time. But
interestingly enough, when I was going to the US and back again, I flew with both BA and Aer Lingus. And Aer Lingus are a company who have done what BA have done, into turn themselves from a flag carrier, a luxury airline, into pretty much a low cost airline within Europe, and actually they're going even one step further, in that they're starting to charge for checked luggage, and they start to charge for certain items in the bar on board the transatlantic routes as well. But they've actually done it really, really effectively, and they've really done their research, so there haven't been too much backlash, or there hasn't been too much complaints from what I can see.
No, but I mean, and your experience presumably was quite a positive one with Aer Lingus.
Mine was a very positive experience, but when you're in the industry, you tend to know how things work.
Right. Okay. I suppose you're right. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Knowing the right things to say, etc., etc. Yes. But I mean, if you were to compare, say, British Airways with say Aer Lingus in that experience, I mean, what is it that they've perhaps got right, for example, that say British Airways are missing a trick on? I mean, where are they going wrong?
I think Aer Lingus have managed their stock and how much they have of everything on board a lot better than BA have. The last 3 times that I flew with BA, there were certain things that I wanted to buy that haven't been in stock, and these are morning flights, so maybe not the earliest flight, but there's certainly there's something there. I think pricing as well. If BA want to stay cut above the rest and only charge, they need to charge a little bit less.
I mean, you could argue it's quality products that they're selling. But I mean, Nev, do you think this is possibly because they've, they admit in this story, obviously, that we're reading, where there were mistakes made, if you like, at the beginning while they were trying to work it out.
Yes, and I think what's happened now is that it's gone so far badly wrong, and there's a lot of focus groups, clients and passengers that BA ask about their opinions about it and all the rest of it, but they're just so hell bent on this route now. Now, if they had everything that you wanted on board, so if they had the Marks and Spencer's things that you wanted, and it didn't take them the whole flight to actually do the service in the aircraft. Actually, I think the cabin crew hate this as well. I've not spoken to any cabin crew at BA that go, "Oh, it's a great idea. We're really getting much more
I agree with that.
value." I mean, so the poor people that have to operate this service, it's a disaster for them as well. And of course, they're at the front end. They're getting all the backlash from the passengers, and I've been there and seen it happen firsthand. So I think really that there's going to have to be some review here of some sort, and I don't know. I think the Aer Lingus thing works well, obviously, because of the Ryanair involvement with Aer Lingus in terms of how much they own of the airline already. So they've got a better.
It definitely did. They definitely have a head start, I mean, as part of the IAG group, I mean, you'd think that they might be sharing a little bit of the strategy with BA.
Exactly.
But of course, I suppose, I mean, the other issues they've come fresh into it. I mean, certainly the problems in the early days. These guys aren't used to having to do sort of on demand service. And it is very different if you've got sort of people where they've got like their the only thing that you're having to differentiate is identify who's having a halal, or a kosher meal or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it's all you had to do was identify who'd got special dietary requirements, if you like. Other than that, it was basically chicken or fish,
It is very different. It is very, very different. And the way I see the cabin crew work on the other airlines, as opposed to on my own, where we do charge for everything, it's a completely different way of working, and
it is
definitely a different mentality.
Yeah. But then, I mean, again, with these low-cost airlines, I don't, whether it's because they've been doing them for so long or whatever, but you don't have to wait forever. You don't have to wait till the end of the flight for your meal. So things are heated up and that kind of thing. What are the comments in the chat room? Anything of note?
Yes, I think it's very much the same. And Tom says that BA using their competitive advantage of a Heathrow monopoly and seeing how far they can make the pip squeak, in a sense. And actually, obviously, they do have a significant advantage there, and they that will continue to be the case. Nonetheless, I think that BA will start to lose a lot of their short haul customers to the low cost carriers for exactly the reasons we've just been talking about. So they have to make a change somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. And watch this space as to where's best to go then. So we'll throw the next one to you then, please. Who's next? I've forgotten.
I can do the next one if you want.
Okay, okay.
So
far away.
This is from the Sydney Morning Herald in New South Wales, beg your pardon. And it's about the Hollywood star John Travolta, and he's confirmed that he'll be on board the Boeing 707 aircraft he's donating to the Historic Aircraft Restoration Society, HARS. HARS President Bob Delahunty has flagged the plane wouldn't arrive without Travolta, and the movie megastar this week locked in his special appearance at the Illawarra Regional Airport. Travolta and his vintage passenger jet will touch down at the airport sometime in 2018, with the exact date is yet to be determined, but it is expected to be towards the tail end of the year. Mr. Delahunty told Fairfax on Thursday that it was fully intended Travolta would be on the plane when it arrived on Australian soil from the US. We wouldn't see it as being in our interest if we didn't bring him with us, so it's certainly the case, he said. And Mr. Delahunty said Travolta had indicated he would stay quite some time and was keen to go flying in Connie, the Society's Super Constellation aircraft, whilst in town. Travolta revealed that he had gifted the ex-Qantas plane, which bears the unique registration 707 Juliet Tango, to HARS in a shock announcement made via social media on May the 27th. At the time, Travolta, who's a qualified pilot and Qantas ambassador, said the plane needs a lot of work to be restored to a safe flying state. Having seen firsthand the dedication and passion of people at Haas, I have no doubt this beautiful and historic aircraft will be flying again, he said in his announcement. Mr. Delahunty said the project would cost more than the initial $1 million Australian dollars, and there were still many challenges and obstacles, but we've only just been given a reasonable picture of what work needs to be done with the aeroplane, so we're just evaluating all that is there at the moment. It's many millions of dollars. We didn't expect anything less, but now that we know that we need to find, we can break it down, and we work with people who have shown interest in what we're doing. Haas engineers have been in the US and held talks with the Federal Aviation Administration. Mr. Delahunty said that the ongoing engineering discussions meant no firm arrival date could be given at this stage. The maintenance package alone, when it begins, would take 120 days. So it's a lot of work to do on this aircraft, but it would be great, wouldn't it, to have it flying again with Travolta on board. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Owen, perhaps I can trouble you to take the next story, please, because I've had that rather rare thing, Nev. I've had a Mac crash.
That has never happened.
No, indeed. This is clearly a momentous day. Perhaps, yeah, I know.
Well, Glenn Towler in the chat room, I'm sure will comment on that.
Will he? Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yes. Okay. Well, I must admit, it's a first for me. Anyway, there we are. Okay. It's all part of the fun. Owen, if you could perhaps take the next one, please.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. This is from foxnews.com.
Oh no, fake news, everyone. Fake news.
And this is published yesterday. Says Alaska Airlines offers early boarding for passengers in ugly Christmas sweaters.
Hey, nothing wrong with a Christmas sweater, is there, Ned?
We just knew that a heinous holiday sweater would come in handy. Alaska Airlines has announced they will now be celebrating National Ugly Holiday Sweater Day on December the 15th. Allowing passengers in festive seasonal sweaters to board early that day. The Too Good to Be True promotion will be honoured across the airline's 115 city network, including all Alaska, Virgin American and Horizon flights.
Right.
Travel during the holidays can be stressful for guests, especially for those who do not travel often, said Natalie Bowman, Alaska Airlines Managing Director of Marketing and Advertising, in a press release. This fun promotion not only allows guests to board early on that day, but gives people another opportunity to dust off that ugly holiday sweater hanging in the back of their closet, she added.
Right.
To further embrace the seasonal spirit, holiday-centric boarding music will jingle across all flights through the month of December.
Will it? Right.
Passengers are also encouraged to document the experience using the hashtags #UglySweaterDay and #MostWestCoast. This is the first year that Alaska Airlines has partnered with National Ugly Holiday Sweater Day. The airline is perhaps eager to espouse some light-hearted fun in the wake of Randy Zuckerberg's allegations that the airline allowed a passenger to make lewd sexual remarks during her flight. Well, we'll skip over that, though.
Yeah, we'll gloss over that. Yes. It's a family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show. Yeah, indeed. Okay. I was hoping to be able to show you some pictures, but the machine hasn't come back to life yet. So, yes, were there some examples of said heinous jumpers?
There were a few. Yeah.
Well, I'm not really sure what constitutes a heinous jumper, frankly. I mean,
I think it's all a matter of opinion, isn't it? Really?
Is it? Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yes. I mean, obviously, Nev. I mean, your jumper is frankly fabulous. I mean, it's.
Well, yes. It's quite subtle, but there's quite a lot of stuff on there.
It is. It's very festive. Yes. It is very festive. Yes. I am suitably impressed. But
I need to get myself a festive jumper now.
Have you not got one? Oh, dude.
Not here. I don't.
Well,
I don't think here in UK.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that's your job for the weekend then, Owen. Is to find yourself a festive jumper. Absolutely.
Stephanie says Target is selling ugly sweaters this year.
What is an? See, I'm really confused. What is an ugly sweater? What constitutes an ugly sweater? Okay, Nev, perhaps you could take the next story, please,
Yes,
while
of
I'm
course.
while I'm still struggling here in the studio.
Yeah. Well, it's a good news story for the Airbus fans amongst us. This is on Flight Global, and Airbus is set for another busy final month as it ended November with deliveries still short of the 600 mark. But the airliner has been aiming to deliver 700 to 720 aircraft this year. But the figure of 591 by the end of November, whilst up on last year's 577, means it would need to hand over another 129 in December to reach the upper end of its target range. Airbus managed to deliver 111 aircraft during a particularly pressured December last year. But its deliveries so far include 69 A350s, and 14 A380s. The airframe delivered 74 aircraft in November. Airbus has yet to record the huge order for 430 aircraft, tentatively sealed by Indigo partners during the Dubai Air Show. And the airframer has, however, listed CDB aviation lease finance agreements for 45 A320neo family jets, which accounted for the entirety of its November order total. CDB's deal, also unveiled at the Dubai show, comprises 30 A320neos and 15 A321neos and gives CDB a total backlog of 58 320neos and 32 321neos. The agreement takes Airbus's orders for the first 11 months of the year to 333 aircraft, including 287 single-aisle jets, of which 185 are re-engined variants. Its net orders also feature 40 A350s, all the 900 version, bar one, plus 8 A330s. So they've got a little bit to do in the last few weeks of the year, but there's some stuff going on there, isn't there? No doubt about it. And that big order, or it's not an order, but it's heads of agreement kind of thing. At the Dubai Air Show was massive, wasn't it? For 430
it was,
aircraft.
Absolutely. Really put the cat amongst the pigeons as far as Boeing were concerned, certainly. But
I think CVD is a Chinese. Is a Chinese firm, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's who bought a lot of these.
Yeah. Actually, we mentioned Boeing there briefly. The next story, we're sticking with Flight Global for this one, is that Boeing delivers its 50th 737 MAX. So Boeing has delivered the 50th 7. Obviously, Carlos could possibly allow Airbus to have any significant airtime, so immediately has to throw it in. So as Boeing has delivered the 50th 737 MAX 8 so far this year, after handing over the first of the re-engined single-aisle family to Malindo in May. Who's Malindo? Is that an air carrier? Anyway, Flight Fleets Analyzer shows with 1 month of production remaining, the milestone delivery indicates Boeing is on track to meet a target of about 52 to 78 deliveries of the 737 MAX in 2017. That range comes from Boeing's guidance to investors that 10 to 15% of all 737 deliveries this year will be the re-engined model. To accommodate the 737 MAX, Boeing opened a third assembly line within the existing production complex for the 737 in Renton, Washington. The first several 737-8s were assembled exclusively on the third line. Boeing has since introduced the re-engined model in one of the other two 737NG lines as deliveries ramp up. With monthly deliveries of all 737s set at 47 from August through to December, Boeing should deliver around 522 737s this year. 14 different airlines now operate the 50 737-8s delivered so far this year. After delivering 16 737-8s in November alone, Boeing is on track to deliver a total of 67 aircraft if it keeps the same pace through December. So plenty of these 737 Maxes hitting the skies, as it were.
Yeah, that is an insane amount of aircraft getting delivered every single day.
So yeah, absolutely. It's what was it? Sort of like 16 in November alone. 16 aircraft being, that's one every sort of couple of days, isn't it? That's crazy.
Yeah, amazing.
Boeing on track to deliver a total of 67 aircraft if it keeps the same pace through December. It's absolutely amazing how many they can push out. And what a fantastic aircraft it is too.
Yeah, I've not seen one. How much at single aisle? It's so that's sort of like 3 on either side, I presume. Is it something like that?
These are the ones we use.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I can't wait to get the Max as well. That would be
need to lie down. Sorry. I was just thinking, I'm sure that the number was really familiar to me, and it's just there we are. You see, I never said I was any good at this airplane rubbish. No. Okay. No, perhaps I could. No, hang on. Who's well? It's Owen. If you could take the next one, I think.
Okie dokie. So this is from the diplomat.com. And this says China built world's largest amphibious aircraft ready for flight. The maiden flight of the new aircraft is expected to take place in the coming months. China is readying its massive Jiaolong water dragon AG-600 seaplane for its maiden flight. According to Chinese state media, the seaplane purportedly is the world's largest amphibious aircraft, has passed the official technical quality assessment for its maiden flight. The technical evaluation was held in Zhuhai City in China's Guangdong province.
I beg your pardon.
Expert agreed that the plane is ready for flight, Xinhua news agency reports. The new account appears to contradict earlier reports that the maiden flight of the AG-600 aircraft had already taken place in May of this year. The seaplane's developer, a state-owned Aviation Industry Corporation of China, announced in April, following the successful completion of a taxiing test, that the AG-600's maiden flight would take place in May, followed by a flight on the water in the second half of 2017. It's unclear what actually caused the delay, though. The AG-600 is primarily marine search and rescue and firefighting duties. However, the aircraft can also be used for military purposes, including transport supplies and military personnel to Chinese-controlled islands in the South China Sea. Assuming, as claimed by the plane's developers, that the AG-600 only requires a water depth of 2.5 meters for landing and takeoff, it would be an ideal aircraft to supply some of China's artificial features in the Spratly Islands, given that they are now surrounded by shallow waters. It could also be used for long-range patrols, anti-submarine warfare tasks, mine-laying missions. However, the Chinese military appears to be less impressed by the aircraft so far, as one analyst has noted. As I reported previously, the Boeing 737 sized AG-600 aircraft is 37 meters long and has a wingspan of 38.8 meters. Powered by 4 turboprop WJ6 engines. The seaplane's maximum takeoff weight is 53.5 tons, its maximum cruising speed 500 kilometers per hour, and the maximum operational range without refueling is 4,500 kilometers. It purportedly can collect 12 tons of water in 20 seconds and transport a grand total of 370 tons of water in a single run. China has ordered 17 AG-600 aircraft and is considering purchasing an additional 53 in the coming years. Malaysia and New Zealand have allegedly expressed interest in the new aircraft next to a number of other Asian countries. China is reportedly also interested in building a tourist variant of the aircraft to shuttle Chinese tourists from the mainland and back and forth as part of Beijing's plan to transform some of the Chinese-held islands into tourist destinations. So that was a bit of that was a bit of a long one. But essentially, they've built a new aircraft and they're going to fly it.
Right. Well, that's yes, and an amphibious one at that.
I have to say, only 2.5 meters of water for such a large aircraft. That is quite impressive.
Yeah, indeed.
That is very impressive, I have to say.
I never really understand this whole amphibious thing. I mean, it's like my idea of an amphibious vehicle is the car/boat that you used to see in Bond. That's my idea of an amphibious vehicle. But
yeah, but I mean, a lot of islands are going to benefit from this, I assume, or hopefully.
Well, that is true.
I'm sure there's a market for them somewhere.
Yeah.
Indeed. Nev, if you could take the last story, please.
Oh, thanks for this one, Matthew.
Oh, is
yes, this is
Is it horrible? Sorry.
it's one of those and finally stories.
Oh, is it? Well, you know how I don't
always
like. You know how I don't like to read the show notes. You see, so I haven't actually read the story.
No, we'll see how we get on with this. But
Okay.
I have warned the chat room that they might want to put down their knife and fork if they are eating at this stage.
Oh.
Oh
dear.
Delhi residents say that they're being rained on by airline passenger poop.
Oh dear. Oh
People
dear.
living near Delhi airport in India claim that poop, human poop to be exact, has been pelting them from the sky.
Oh no.
Last Friday, the country's environmental court, the National Green Tribunal, tasked a committee to investigate whether the feces are of human origin. The order came after the residents complained again that waste had been raining on their homes. The court suspects that the feces could be bird poop. What makes them think that it belongs to avians is unclear. Excrement samples will be collected by the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, Central Avian Research Institute and Central Pollution Control Board, according to the India Times. But the culprit seems obvious. Last year, residents from the same neighbourhood issued several complaints about aircraft seeping sewage mid-air. It's difficult to say whether Delhi Airport experiences a higher rate of this, but other airports, such as Salt Lake International Airport in Utah, have reported similar incidents. Satwant Singh Dahaya, a resident near New Delhi's airport, filed a case in October saying houses in his neighbourhood were damaged by feces dumped by airlines at night, Bloomberg reported in December 2016. In another incident, a 60-year-old woman suffered a shoulder injury in December last year, probably caused by human excreta falling from the sky.
Oh boy.
That's high-velocity stuff there, isn't it?
What indeed. High speed as well.
It's and the case involving 60-year-old Raj Rani Gold involved a frozen chunk of ice containing feces and urine. Gold told the Times of India the football-sized chunk ricocheted off a roof, nearly missing her head. The National Green Tribunal, as a result, ordered India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation to prohibit planes from releasing human waste containers whilst in the air. If a plane's toilet repository is found empty upon landing, the airliner will pay a fine of 50,000 rupees or $777. To be clear, planes can't empty their sewage waste tanks mid-flight. Crews can only access wastewater tanks from a valve on the outside of the plane, according to the FAA.
Which I must have.
What's going when a plane has a faulty wastewater system? Something called blue ice, poop, pee, and a toilet deodorizer called Anatech can seep into its exterior. The air temperature freezes into chunks, and when the plane descends, the icy mixture breaks away. Well, what a mucky tale!
Lovely story. Well, I mean, it must be a fault, surely, because I mean, I was very much under the impression that obviously the days of even trains, they're sealed units. They don't sort of drop on the tracks like they used to. I mean, I sort of assumed that those days were very much, behind us.
Clearly not.
I don't know, but it's very rare that leaks like these happen.
I mean, I just can't get my head around it. I genuinely can't get my head around it. It's just weird. I literally don't know what to do with that information.
Anyway, luckily on that rather unnecessarily mucky note, that brings the commercial segment to the end.
Thank you, Nev. Yes, please bring some decorum back immediately. Absolutely.
Right. Well, next up, we've got an awesome interview that Carlos made at the Dubai Air Show when he was there, and it's a really good one actually. I really like it, and he was talking to Adam Gobo, who's pilot of Lomax Archangel Block 2, and so have a listen to this. Hope you enjoy it.
So I'm sitting here with Adam Gobo, and I've just been outside and had a look at an amazing-looking aircraft. So Adam, tell us what is this just totally amazing aircraft we're sitting next to outside here?
Well, this is the ILMAX Archangel. This is our Block 2. We've learned a lot from our Block 1 and our previous operations with the air tractor. One of the things that you'll notice on this that's a kind of an eye catcher is the big MX-25 on the underneath the aircraft. This is also our full loadout, so what you see right now can still be airborne for over 7 hours. So we were just talking briefly before about the old school, new school. This aircraft was born as a crop duster, but it never saw any crop dusting time. It comes straight from the factory at Thrush in Albany, Georgia, to our facilities, and we take everything down to where it's just the frame and the motor, and we put it all back together. There's over 6 miles of wire in this aircraft. All of our pylons are smart, all 6 of them. So we're running 1760, 1522, and Ethernet. So anything that's on a 14-inch lug, we can mount to this aircraft. So what our customers get out of this aircraft is something that can fly airborne for a flight hour cost in accordance with the Air Force formulas for about $820 a flight hour. But you still get GBU-12, 500-pound, or Hellfire, or laser-guided missiles with our Jarrett. This is, for a ground force commander, this is his dream right here, because what we can do is we can stay over a target within 50 nautical miles of where his FOB is. So we can take off and land in 3,000 feet on a dirt strip, fully loaded, no problems. And that's kind of that old school, new school, and why it's a tailwheel. It's made to land on an austere dirt, not necessarily a smooth, long, 12,000 foot runway that's been FOD swept, every couple hours. This aircraft is made to be out in the field and doing the mission. So
it's a good bit of audio for the show.
Yeah, it is a good bit of audio. Got a parade going by. The other thing that's really interesting about this aircraft, so it's not a typical Thrush 660. We modified the aircraft by pulling the cockpit forward, and then we made it more mission orientated. So instead of just being a specialized aircraft, it was born out of being a crop duster, but it is no way a crop duster. We took where the spray would be in the hopper tank, we turned that into a center tank. So that's right between where the smokestacks are there for the exhaust and the windshield. There's a fuel tank in there, and that holds 320 gallons of fuel. So we have a lot of fuel, but what's great about this aircraft is I can take off and it just sips the gas. We're anywhere from about 400 to 500 pounds per hour. So very, very economical for this aircraft to stay over the target. And then going back to what we were talking about with for the ground force commander, so from 50 nautical miles away from the target, I can stay airborne for about 9 hours. If I want to go all the way out to 650 miles away as my combat radius, that means go out, turn around, come back, I can go out there for an hour. So I have a real wide range for this aircraft. I can patrol up and down borders, I can sit on a target for a long time and let it develop. And that's what we're finding right now is a lot of the countries that we're talking to, they might have F-16s, they might have ISR, but it becomes very expensive to take an ISR aircraft, a strike aircraft, and then the support elements for that strike aircraft, plus all the people, all the parts. It becomes a huge production, where with this aircraft we can do basically all those missions in one. So it's truly a very economical but highly lethal aircraft.
So tell us a bit about what the aircraft's like to fly. This inside, it's obviously a glass cockpit inside. Does it feel like a bit like a kind of fighter jet as such?
When you're, it feels like a fighter jet in the fact that we use the same HOTAS system as you have in a fighter jet. What you'll notice in this aircraft is the only time that it really acts like a tailwheel is on landing and taxi. Other than that, it's just a normal aircraft when it's flying around. We have about a 3G maneuverability with the aircraft because we have a long constant chord. In the States we call it a Hershey bar wing. So it's made to do a lot of lifting. If you think about it, this is almost like a flying dump truck. It's ready to haul a lot of armament, a lot of fuel up to altitude, sit over a target and wait for it to develop and then be able to strike it, instead of have to go up, come down, go up, come down. or be limited on what the payload is because of the fact that you don't have, you know, the legs to get there. You know, so we have a lot of fuel. We have over 4,422 pounds of fuel in this aircraft, which is a lot for something that's only sipping about 400 to 500 pounds. So that's going to give us our 9 to 10 hour endurance.
So the aircraft has a special feature I noticed on the billboard outside there that makes it easy to move to various parts of the world.
Absolutely. So that's one of the reasons why we partnered with Thrush for this aircraft. The wings can come off the aircraft, and we have a carriage system that attaches. We unbolt the wing. We leave the pylons on, but we take the armament off, and then we can pull the wing off, put it on a C-17. So 2 of them can fit on a C-17, 3 of them can fit on a C-5, and we can transport it anywhere in the world. And from the time that the ramp drops, which is the video that you were seeing and your viewers can see at our website, you have about 76 minutes before the aircraft's done. And that was taken about 5 months ago. We've since perfected that to the point where from the time the ramp drops of a C-17 or C-5, my first aircraft within 2 hours is going to be airborne, which is very, very exciting for our customers with those types of transport aircraft. The other part that's very interesting about this aircraft is that even though the wings break, we don't lose any structural integrity for that. So it's just as strong, but we have this extra benefit. And when people see us doing it it's hard to talk about it. So when you see the video, you're like, that's impressive, you know, that the wings can just be put on and flight controls attached. And that's one of the reasons why that old school, new school, there's no hydraulics on it except for the brakes. So it's all cable and pulley, it's all just attached, and that way it can be readied very quickly out in the field. If a C-17 can land there, we can land and take off there. So that's a huge benefit. We don't need that extra runway. So about 3,000 feet, we're in and out, no problem.
So Adam, if I could ask a bit about yourself, where did the aviation kind of start for you, the passion?
Sure. So loved airplanes from a kid. Didn't have Matchbox cars, had airplanes kind of thing for the die-cast. And I started flying a lot, going back to visit family, and loved aviation. Got my pilot's license in high school. Went off to the Marine Corps for 6 years, and then flew F-16s for about 4 years. Then I switched over to fly King Air 350s, doing ISR with the MC-12s. Did some contract ISR, and I've got experience in Africa, Iraq, Afghanistan, so pretty much all over this area I'm very familiar with. And it was when I found the company ILMAX, I saw something that kind of bridged the gap for me. So having been a ground pounder and kicking indoors and doing that mission with the Marine Corps, and wishing you had on station some air asset that could support, but you might only have like an ISR aircraft. Well, he can't really stop that guy from shooting at me. He can tell me that he's shooting at me, which isn't the same. And then I went into F-16s, and now we're flying around, but we're going around really fast. We're having to stay away from the target because we don't want them to hear our afterburners or just our motor in general. And then I went into the King Air, which is kind of like just the ISR only side. So this aircraft to me was a culmination of all 3 of those paths that I've taken into one aircraft, which literally can be broken down and pushed out and then put back together. So it's pretty impressive, and it really gives the ground force commander at in the US we call it an ADCON, TACON, OPCON, so he can have tactical control, admin control, and operations control at his level instead of having to go request assets that have other demands on them and you get in a priority structure. So that's where this aircraft is uniquely suited for our customers.
So Adam, do you do any sort of flying for sort of pleasure or family at home?
Yeah, it's funny you ask that. So I have gotten into paramotoring, so it's paragliding with a motor on your back. I still fly, our company aircraft. We've got Cirrus, Cessnas, plus I fly this one. But for the aviation enthusiasts, there's just something about being airborne and not talking to anybody on a radio, just cruising around and just being in the air. It's one of the things. I've flown both the 802 and this one, and the 802 we sit so far back that the wings you can't really get a good view. You can see right below you, but you can't see kind of the in front of you. And And the paramotor is great because I'm just suspended underneath and I can, tool around and have fun. And my family thinks it's funny because, I've done everything from 50,000 feet, and Mach 2 to now I'm flying around at like 15 to 20 miles per hour, 30 kilometers per hour type deal, and 50 to 500 feet off the ground. So, but I think it's anybody that's into aviation, it's just any chance to go get airborne is well worth it. I've never ever had a flight where I was like, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Even with EPs and stuff like that, they're just good stories for later.
So Adam, what you got plans for the future? Anything you want to kind of go to progress to? Or?
No, this for me, this is my future right here with this aircraft. My personal goal is to put it in the hands of the Allies. To give it to back to where my roots come from. Ideally, if I could, produce this out and give it to all the battalions that are out there. They're using hand-thrown UAVs and small scan eagles and things like that. But when this aircraft checks in, it's like bringing your big brother, into the room. And it's a huge game changer, especially with the loadout that you see right now. And for your viewers, so we're right now our aircraft's loaded out with two ACE pods, which are where our flares are in those. We're carrying a GB-12, which is a 500-pound bomb. We're carrying two 250-pound GBU-58s, 8 laser-guided rockets, and 2 Hellfires. So when I check in, they're basically getting a Reaper, an Apache. They're getting a very war machine, but with the ability to stay on station and be really, really quiet up at altitude. So I don't burn the target, I don't give away their position, but I can fully support them, which is just, for me, that's the best. So that's my future is really, really based on this aircraft.
So Adam, I'm going to wrap up the interview now. Just one last question. It's something we ask all the pilots and stuff on the show when we interview them at the air shows. Kind of put you on the spot question. Given a chance to fly any aircraft, either retired or still flying in the world, be it commercial or military, what would that one aircraft be?
I'll tell you, it's changed over the years. So it was the F-16, then I got to fly it, and she's my first, and you always love your first. But and I've flown in a P-51, but I'll tell you, for me it would probably be the Sky Raider, because we're so aligned with that aircraft, with that mission, and our speed. We can fly right next to helicopters, but we can carry that kind of armament. And to fly a Sky Raider, especially one of the the A1s, all by yourself, and just all those hard points, and it's just nostalgic as far as going back to what that aircraft's mission was, and kind of what it's evolved to in this aircraft.
Well, Adam, I'm going to say thank you very much for your time on the show, on the Plane Talking UK podcast today. It's been absolutely fantastic to speak to you. I'm pretty sure the listeners are going to be very, very interested in what you've said today. So on behalf of me, I'm going to say a massive thank you, and take care, and all the best for the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. And for your listeners, they can go to www.iomax, that's IOMAX.net, see the aircraft. We got videos on there. They can see the wings coming apart, see some of our highlight videos and our engagements, and that's one of the things that I love about this aircraft is it's real. This is actually the 50th aircraft that we have built in this kind of genre. So, and the other 24 of the Archangels are currently in combat with the UAE. So it's very for most people have no idea what this aircraft is, never seen it, but once they do, they become a fan.
Great. Well, Adam, thanks for your time. I'm going to get some great pictures of the aircraft for the listeners, and we're going to put this with the interview as well, so they'll be able to see what it's all about. But thanks for your time, Adam, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you very much.
Find this and other great shows at the Aviation Media Network.
thevoicesinyourhead.com. The Plain Talking UK podcast is a voluntary project that aims to keep you informed with the latest aviation-related stories from newswires across the globe.
Producing our content does cost money though. If you enjoy our show, why not help us keep on the air by making a donation towards the server and website hosting fees through PayPal. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated.
Are you an Amazon user? If so, why not do your shopping through the link on our website? There's no cost to yourself, and Amazon pay us a small referral fee on qualifying purchases.
To find out more about the show and to meet the team, take yourself to our website www.plaintalkinguk.com,
or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/plaintalkinguk, on Twitter via @plaintalkinguk, or get in touch via email on podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. Thanks for listening.
Flybe 5823, Trent Dane for 23 Manchester, Wizz Air 6X, climb flight level 210, direct to Bretlands Park. United 123, maintain 280 knots. London 2DME, turn right onto Bravo, link, 21 join Alpha, hold at Mora, Speedbird 472, LOC/DME, approach runway 27 left, follow the green stand 544.
That's enough air traffic control for today, Nat. Bedtime.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to fly a commercial passenger jet? Looked up at the sky and thought, I wish that was me? Well, now anyone has the chance to have a go at flying in a real aircraft simulator. NP Simulations and Flight Experience London, the only official Boeing licensed product of its kind in the UK, offer you the chance to fly anywhere in the world in their fixed-base Boeing 737-800 flight simulator. And that's not all. Ground School London offers many different courses for the up-and-coming pilot looking for a start in aviation. With prices starting at just £109, the sky's the limit. So for the ultimate flight simulator experience, or engaging preparatory courses, including those for schools and colleges, check out the websites at www.london.flightexperience.co.uk and www.groundsschoollondon.com, or call on 020 300 40 616. NP Simulations. Fly your dreams.
That was a great interview from Carlos there, wasn't it?
It was,
Very nice.
yeah, really good. And we've got one more of those to look forward to next week. So, yes, we've got one more to look forward to, which is obviously filling in a little void that we have in our show at the moment. So, Nev, obviously, because the passenger flight experience is having a brief hiatus over the festive period.
We are, yes. Just one thing before I go on. I actually spoke, as they say in the media. The aircraft involved was the IOMAX Archangel. Not Lomax, as I said, so I do apologise. But yes, Nev's passenger experience is going to be back next year. More interviews, more stuff, a few famous people lined up.
There's a couple of high
get
profile
them as well. So it should be really good actually. So looking forward to recording some more of those over Christmas and playing them out next year.
Indeed. So we're going to move on to something that we launched last week, which was the Christmas competition. Carlos has asked us to remind everyone about that. So I'm just going to run through the prizes very quickly. So our top prize this year, so we've got 3 prizes in total this year. So top prize is a Stage 6 compressor fan blade from Zulu Delta 992, a T8 Harrier jump jet, which includes a Haynes manual. Very, very exciting. Prize number 2 is a piece of Richard Branson's ex-Boeing 747-400 Reg Golf Victor Foxtrot Alpha Bravo. That's the Lady Penelope and an associated Haynes manual. I don't know where he's getting these Haynes manuals from. I didn't think such things existed. And third prize, and it's not a booby prize despite what anyone says, and I really want one of these for my desk. So if anybody wants to buy me something nice for Christmas, I want one. It's this lovely Ryanair Boeing 737-800 model. So yes, those are the prizes that are available. We've already had some some answers come in this week, actually, haven't we?
Yeah, saw those. Yep. So good stuff. So yes, thanks very much indeed for sending in your answers. And yes, we shall be dishing out the prizes later on. So that'll be fantastic.
Indeed. So for a quick reminder of the questions, I'm going to hand over to somebody. He's here, which is sort of a bit of a surprise. But we're not going to make him do it live because that would be very mean. Because I've gone to all this effort, and those of you watching on YouTube will know why. So it's time for a quick rundown of the Christmas question.
For your chance to win some fantastic prizes, all you have to do is answer these 7 questions. What date was the first Boeing 747 rolled out of the Everett Assembly Building? What year did the Airbus A300 make its maiden flight? What was the world's first airline to use an aircraft in revenue service? As of 2017, which airline has the world's largest fleet of commercial airliners? Which airline called itself the world's friendliest airline and painted a smile on the nose of its airplanes? Which 2 nationalised airline corporations and which 2 regional airlines were merged to form British Airways on March 31st, 1974? And what year was Ryanair founded? And what aircraft did they first fly? So for your chance to win these amazing prizes, send your answers in to podcast@planetalkinguk.com. That's podcast@planetalkinguk.com. Best of luck.
I don't think I could have made that any more cheesier or any more Christmassy if I'd tried, really.
I thought it was superb, actually, and Owen did a great job on that.
He did, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, showing off look. Honestly, I shouldn't tell you this. He was so pernickety about how we filmed that. It was hilarious.
We had good fun filming.
Oh, we did have a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely. It wasted many hours of work time that I couldn't afford to lose. But other than
many hours? It didn't take that long.
Yes, this on-screen talent can be very precious.
I know, absolutely. Tell me about it. Yeah.
I think there's only 11.5 minutes of video.
11.5 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we got to cut down to what, 1 minute 18?
1 minute 18, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Some careful editing there. So so there we are. This is the answer here. Yeah, as I say, don't be afraid if you don't know the answers. That is what Google was invented for. Let's be honest. So nobody has got any excuse not to send in an entry. So those 3 cracking prizes. Don't make me go through them again because I've forgotten already. And yes, so yes, thank you, Owen. So we're going to be playing that out, as I say, and the answers will be launched in our first live show after the Christmas break, as I say, because we're going to do a couple of we won't be live for a couple of shows over Christmas just because we deserve a break, frankly. So there we are. Although actually no, it's only one show now, isn't it? I think that we're not doing a live one now because of uproar from the chat room. But
yes, we're not happy.
Indeed, yes, our Christmas show is going to be live as it was once before. Yes, we
be live from the barn. Do you think?
I think it is probably going to be live from the barn. Yes, indeed.
Oh,
yeah.
Excellent.
So absolutely, yes. So yes, unfortunately,
it is indeed a wonderful place.
It is, yes. In fact, actually, Owen, I'm sitting at your desk at the moment. It's currently surrounded by podcast equipment. So sorry about that. Yeah.
Well, it's okay when I'm not there, you know.
No, that's very good of you. Thanks very much, indeed. Right, okay. What have we got to do next? Somebody got some show notes
military stuff. I'm pleased to say it's my favourite segment. Actually,
is it? Okay.
No, but our chum
don't sit on the fence, though, will you? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Our chum Grant from Down Under has sent us some good military stories this week. So let's have a look at these. Well, this is from defenseworld.net, and it says that Israel operationalizes the first set of F-35 fighter jets. And the Israel Air Force has announced that F-35 fighter aircraft, Adir, are now operational. Israel has so far received 9 aircraft of the 50 that it has ordered from US Lockheed Martin, each costing approximately $100 to $110 million. The aircraft were received in 3 groups in recent years. The Globes magazine reported on Thursday. The first Israeli Air Force F-35 squadron is called Golden Eagle, and Israel is the first country in the world outside the US to make operational use of these planes. The announcement of the operational fitness of the squadron is being made at a time when the Air Force is operating on a large scale on several fronts in a Middle East that is constantly changing and being reshaped. Israel Air Force Commander Major General Norkin wrote in a special letter to Air Force soldiers. Making the Adir operational adds a significant layer to the Air Force's capability at the current time, he said. And 41 more F-35s will land in Israel in the coming years, and Israel is considering whether to buy a third squadron of the fighters, thereby increasing its total order to 75 planes. That's a significant order, and obviously a massive commitment there, isn't it?
Indeed, absolutely, it is. So we'll move on to the next story then. This is, if I've got this right, shout if I've got it wrong, Nevis. This is on the Aviationist, and the headline is Israeli Air Force F-35I ADIR involved, ADIR, involved in a bird strike. Incident gets grounded. So an Israeli Air Force F-35 has been involved in an airstrike, in a bird strike during a training sortie. And the incident has fueled some weird speculations. An Israeli Air Force F-35, is that L, I think? F-35I maybe? ADIR, Mighty, was involved in a bird strike incident during a training sortie 2 weeks ago, the Israeli Defense Forces said on the 16th of October. The pilot managed to land the airplane safely back at the Nevatim Air Base, Air Force Base in the Negev Desert, but no casualties were reported. This is the first incident to an F-35 in IAF service since the first two aircraft have been taken on by the 140 Golden Eagle Squadron in December last year. The IDF confirmed those details to Israeli media outlets. During a training sortie, 2 hits were found on the plane following to a collision with a bird. After an evaluation and assessment of the damage conducted together with the manufacturer Lockheed Martin, the plane was sent to a normal maintenance and repair. It will return into full service in the next few days. 7 ADIR aircraft have been delivered to the Israeli Air Force since December 2016. In August, a deal was completed for the purchase of another 17 such aircraft. Therefore, 50 such aircraft will be operated by the IAF, equipping 2 squadrons. The total amount of the deal to purchase the 50 aircraft is estimated at $6 billion. Meanwhile, the Golden Eagle Squadron continues to perform a wide array of flight tests to verify the 5th generation aircraft capabilities. The squadron is scheduled to become operational by the end of the year. The news of the bird strike incident was released on the very same day the Israeli targeted a Syrian SAM battery that had attacked IDF aircraft during a routine flight over Lebanon, fueling speculations that the F-35 was not grounded by a bird strike, but because it was hit by the Syrian air defences. In fact, the Syrian Air Defence Ministry said in a statement that government forces responded to the violation of airspace and directly hit one of the jets, forcing Israeli aircraft to retreat. On the other side, the Israeli denied any such aircraft hit by the Syrian air defences, and this sounds quite reasonable, considered that the Israeli has often shown their ability to operate freely in Syrian airspace, and there would have been no reason to disclose a fake bird strike at all to cover a Syrian hit. So it's a slightly
one
odd
of the
story.
reasons that I think military news isn't featured as much as some people might like it to be on this show is that I've always find that military stories are so difficult to read.
Yes.
And the last 2 have been no exception either.
No, indeed. Although I have to say, as I say, this is where I'm very grateful, because Grant has chosen these stories on the grounds, because what actually prompted this is the conversation that I had with him, saying that they're always so difficult to read, and it's, you know, so he's very kindly chosen some slightly less challenging stories, if you like, because I was saying that they're quite often quite badly written, aren't they? But it's pretty good really on that front. So the final story, if we could perhaps give that one to you, please, Owen.
So this one is from defensenews.com, and it says an F-35 loses aircraft panel during training flight near Okinawa. A U.S. Air Force F-35 deployed to Kadena Air Base in Japan lost a panel during a November 30th training flight over the Pacific Ocean, the service confirmed on Monday. An aircraft panel measuring approximately 12 inches by 24 inches dropped from an F-35A sometime during a routine training mission about 65 miles east of Okinawa, according to a news release from the 18th Wing Public Affairs at Kadena Air Base. The item was discovered missing by the pilot's wingman as the fighter jets were coming in for landing, and was later confirmed missing after a post-flight inspection, the release stated. Because inspections are done also prior to takeoff, it is thought that the panel fell off sometime during the flight. Although the Air Force has not commented on or confirmed the mishap prior to Monday, the Japanese media has been aware of this incident since it occurred on November the 30th. Nippon News Networks featured a footage of the F-35A showing the missing panel, which was shared by aviation enthusiasts across Twitter. It was not clear whether any attempt would be made to recover the missing panel or whether the loss of part of the F-35's structure causes any concerns from a safety or technological security standpoint. 12 F-35A conventional takeoff and landing models from the 34th Fighter Squadron at Hill Air Base, Utah, arrived in Kadena in November for a 6-month stint in the Asia Pacific. The first time the A variant has deployed to the region since it became operational in August 2016. The deployment is being supported by more than 300 pilots, maintainers, and other personnel. Unlike the F-35A's much-hyped development to Europe earlier this year, the Joint Strike Fighter has kept a low profile since coming to Japan. Kyodo News reported in early November that one jet had made an emergency landing, after which the aircraft was examined by firefighters. The Air Force called it a precautionary landing and said there was no risk of injury or property damage due to the event. The Air Force provided a few details about the purpose of the training mission that caused the loss of the aircraft panel. As a matter of policy, we do not discuss the details or specifics of our training operations, Public Affairs said in its statement.
I must admit, this is one of the things that I always struggle with these stories, because, of course, quite often the juicy bit about the story, which you want to know why they were there in the first place, of course, we're not allowed to know because it's all
really.
Yeah, it's all sort of like official secrets acts and things like that. That's one of the things, because it's like, I dare say virtually every single story we ever read out to do with military, if you actually have all the details there, is genuinely fascinating. But of course, it's all you don't get to find out about it until 50 years time.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's right. Yeah,
indeed.
So that brings the military segment to a close for this time. So thanks very much, Dean, for Grant for sending those over to us. I think. But
no. No, seriously, thanks, Grant. And I say, because he is a lot more up on it. You see, this is why it's so, and it's like if you are a military expert, I know Glenn Towler, I know. Jonathan Warner and all that, please do send in military stories if you find some that are interesting to you, because you guys know far better than us, if you like, what's likely to be interesting when it comes to the military thing, because we do want to cover it, but we do struggle to, because it's not an area that any of us have any knowledge. Well, I have no knowledge of aviation, full stop, but it's like it's everybody else here is a little bit more expert when it comes to GA and sort of commercial air flight, but we would really appreciate any input from our listeners in regard to doing the military a bit better. That's our goal for 2018, is to improve our military segment.
That's good.
Indeed.
New Year's resolutions.
Our New Year's resolution, indeed, is to be better at military next year. Yeah. So, so it's time to sort of start wrapping up, really, I think, guys.
Yeah, so don't forget, we've got a bit of housekeeping to talk about now.
Okay.
Don't forget.
Hang on. I'll open my show notes. One moment.
Oh, excellent. Because you read them
religiously, absolutely, yes, absolutely, yeah. Don't tell Carlos, I do actually read the show notes every week. I just enjoy winding him up because it drives him mad that I don't. But I do really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the next show is going to be on Saturday, the 16th of December.
In a change to the usual programming.
Yep. Yeah. And that's going to be at 10 a.m. UK time. So that's Saturday, the 16th of December at 10 a.m.
Yep.
And of course, after that, we've got the Christmas special show,
which really will be the last show of last live show of 2017.
Yep. And that's on Thursday, the 21st of December.
Yeah.
And we're looking probably for a start time of about 7:30 in the evening,
absolutely.
we understand.
So 7:30
we'll keep you
UK.
updated on that.
Yeah. So 7:30 UTC, of course, because we're now back to UTC times, aren't we?
We are.
But if you want to get in touch with the show, obviously you can do that by the usual means. You'll find us on Facebook at Plain Talking UK. On Twitter, our handle is at Plain Talking UK. Please do send us audio or video feedback feedback using the following email address. It is podcast@planetalkinguk.com. Christmas competition, obviously, the questions we went through earlier. Don't be afraid to use Google to get the right answers. We'd rather have lots of answers, and there's 3 prizes up for grabs. All very unique prizes. We'd be the first to admit they're not worth the most amount of money, but they are what I call, they're good prizes for proper aviation geeks. So there are 3 prizes up for grabs. Make sure you get those answers in, and that also, please send those to podcast@planetalkinguk.com. Our website, of course, www.planetalkinguk.com.
Just one final thing to say is that our 200th show, the preparations are well underway for that. As I said earlier, I went down there to have a look and a play around with various things, checking some internet speeds and what have you. Yes. And during this weekend, I'll be sending out a little info pack to all the people that are coming to that. Yep. So all the people that have asked us about what's happening, when it's happening, I'll be sending out some details over the weekend. So keep a lookout for that in your email.
Indeed. Eoin, thanks very much for joining us. As always a pleasure to have you on. And,
always a pleasure.
And obviously, Sir Nev, thank you for playing host this week. That's so right. That I can sit here and press all the buttons. So from all of us here in the studio, it's time to say goodbye, everyone. Say, everybody, goodbye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.